if you are watching on air, it is Maria Kuban here from the Fox 11 newsroom here in Los Angeles. And sitting with me, a very special guest from Israel, the Deputy Foreign Minister, Danny Ayalon.
Right.
Welcome to the newsroom and welcome to the Hangout. I want to introduce you to the gang that's here with us right now. We've got Daniela, who's hanging out from Portland.
Hi, Daniela.
Diana is in Reno.
Reno, wow.
Jeff is in the Bay Area, in San Francisco.
Okay.
Kempton is in Canada.
Oh, wow.
And Laurent is in Paris.
Wow.
Michael is in Australia. And Robert is in Rhode Island.
Great.
Yeah, so we're well represented here in terms of from all over the world. And also Adrian just popped in. Adrian is in Atlanta, so welcome to Adrian.
Wonderful.
So you guys have got Danny sitting here next to me, and I was telling him earlier that I feel so honored and so special that he's coming here in the newsroom just to hang out with us. He's not even going on the set, so you guys are really special in the group called Hangout. Danny is the Deputy Foreign Minister, and I want to ask you, first of all, for those of us who don't know,
yes,
what is it that the Deputy Foreign Minister does?
Okay.
Like what is your job description?
Let me tell you, the Deputy Foreign Minister does everything that the Minister doesn't want to do.
Parties and such and luncheons, maybe,
no, but basically it's developing and nurturing Israeli diplomatic relations with most countries in the world, European countries, Asian, African, America, South America, North America, and of course with the United States, which is our best friend and ally. So we do, of course, strategic dialogues with different countries. We promote also technological and know-how cooperation. We work very much. We have a special agency in the ministry, which I'm in charge of, which is called Technical Assistance, which we work in areas of disaster, like in Haiti or the tsunami, or in Japan after the tsunami. And we do also some public diplomacy. And public diplomacy means that we have to explain what the Israeli government do. Unfortunately, there are too many detractors that try to paint us in different colors, which are totally untrue. So also part of my job is to set the record straight and do it not only in the conservative or in the traditional media, but especially in the new and social media. And this is why, Maria, I'm so happy to be here with you.
Oh, good, good.
And no, this is fun, and then thank you for having me.
Well, we are excited to have you, and I'm going to turn it over to the guys in the Hangout because they are really excited to talk to you. And I'm going to start the Q&A session with Robert in Rhode Island. Robert, what is your question for Danny?
Deputy Foreign Minister, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I'm a technology entrepreneur myself, and I've worked with a number of Israeli companies. I was wondering, Israel is a leader in emergent technologies like renewable energy and telecommunications. I was wondering if maybe you could highlight a couple of those innovations that are current or coming up that we can look forward to, or give us a couple of pointers on some things that we might be seeing in the future from Israel.
Yes, thank you. Well, you know, notwithstanding the new discoveries that we have now of natural gas and oil offshore the Mediterranean, we have not been blessed by many natural resources, which had us really concentrate on the mines and on the human resources. So we basically, Israel we live off our intellectual property. And you were rightly mentioning, of course, the areas of renewable energy, of course, IT, software engineering, also biotechnology. We look to meet the challenges of the future. First and foremost, in terms of food security, water resources, because we live today, there are 7 billion in the planet, soon to be 10 billion people. And the problem is with food, energy, and water. So there is a whole, I'd say, gamut of Israeli companies that will deal with that through bioengineering, genetic manipulations to produce new types of grains and vegetables and fruits that would be weather resistant, that could be custom made for different soil. Now, on the issue of renewable energy, we have this electric car, Better Place. I don't know if you've heard about that.
I have.
We're
Yeah.
going to turn, actually we're turning the entire country as a beta site for the electric car. So to create the infrastructure of stations where you can quickly change the batteries. And each battery is good for about 100 or so, 160
Wow.
miles.
Wow.
So it's like a tank of
Better than a
gasoline.
Prius.
Yes, absolutely. And it's 100% electric.
Yes.
There are also some new developments about trying to energize future cars through the friction of the tires on the road.
Whoa.
So also this will be a type of energy saver. And of course we have the solar, we have the biodiesel, and we have the wind energy. So there are many, many models. Kind of we let 1,000 flowers bloom. We do not know which model will be the most effective. Could be maybe a combination of models. But the idea is to be totally undependable on the fossil oil.
Yeah. But in terms of technology, I mean, I know we talked about how Israel has become this social hub for
Yes.
not only, I think Newsweek rated you as one of the top 10
Exactly.
technological countries. And how did that happen? How did you become so technologically savvy and a leader in this industry?
Well, first and foremost, we had no choice. You
Yeah.
know, we had no other natural resources. Secondly, I think that by nature, Israelis and the Jewish people is very curious. We're very curious to look for new innovations. And thirdly, it's part of a global vision of trying to make a better world for everyone. So this was recognized by most American companies. Today we have 170 different research and development centers by all the main companies. You know, we have Google, we have Microsoft, we have Intel, we have Apple, you name it. They're there. VCs, you know, also per capita we have the most VCs in the world. Nobel Prizes.
Yes.
Israel has gained, you know, for a population of less than 8 million. We have had 10 Nobel Prizes. So per capita is also something which is among the
I know. I was reading that people are coming out of MIT and they're not going to Silicon Valley. They're going straight to Tel Aviv. So that's how much you're recruiting. All right, let's go to another question. Daniela, what was your question?
Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Thank you for being here. My question is specifically regarding, I'm very impressed that you seem so tuned into technology and that you're embracing the Google Plus Hangout. And I'm wondering if you could lay out a brief roadmap of how you intend on using social media to promote Israel's image.
Well, thank you, Daniela. This is something that I realized right away, that the new social media gives us a great opportunity. First of all, the opportunity of instant messaging, that we can just with a few clicks reach millions of people, as we do with Google and Google Plus on a daily basis. Secondly, which also is very important, is that you can be your own editor and your own writer, and you don't have to rely on any editorial boards or journalists which could become filters, sometimes even in a biased way, whether it's by design or default. Sometimes stories in the traditional media do not come accurate. And everybody here knows it, that, you know, more than once, I'm sure we have witnessed that traditional media is not necessarily accurate. There's many interests over there, and it's not the same with the social media. So for instance, now, Daniela, we talk directly and millions can watch us instantaneously. This is a great asset. It's actually the democratization of communication.
Yeah.
And this is what Google Plus does, and this is why we so much appreciate it.
And if you don't know, Danny is on Google Plus. He's on Twitter, Facebook. You have your own YouTube channel. I mean, you are really hooked in, and you have that direct pipeline. Hey, Jeff, what is your question?
Well, you know, it's almost like a double-edged sword, though, because anyone with a cell phone or can actually be a reporter out there. So it must put a lot of pressure on you personally to be nimble to respond to you know, news reports or other things that or pictures that come up. So as a government, how do you stay on message and keep the pressure at a manageable level?
Yes, this is a very good question. Yeah, it's a challenge, Jeff. Absolutely. Well, first of all, I can tell you honestly, we do not always keep on message. And there is a lot of plurality, certainly in the Israeli government, and it's also part of democracy. Maybe it's not as effective, but sometimes you have different ministries with different messages, and there may be a little, dissonance or different nuances, but then it creates another kind of an avalanche that you have to continue and deal and explain. So in a way, I look at it as something which is mutually fertilizing. So it is kind of distilling. And today, what the social media allows is total transparency.
Yes.
So if beforehand you had to do it behind closed doors, today this distilling process can be online, and sometimes there are glitches, but this is only human. And I think it makes it interesting for the public to see how really the work is being done. And yes, it's been more than once that I had one message and the Ministry of Energy had a different message, so we had to work it out, what really is the right thing to approach it, and it was all online.
Yeah,
and
because it gets there that fast.
Yes, and
sometimes,
I also use the social media to get advice from the participants. To do all kinds of manifestations or all kinds of petitions and things
No, we
like
love it because it's a two-way thing.
Exactly.
It becomes this really this two-way street.
Exactly.
Okay. Adrian,
Yes.
what was your question?
Okay, hi. Thank you for talking with us this morning. I really appreciate it. I had a question about entrepreneurship. I know Israel is a big leader in innovation. What's being done to encourage startups and entrepreneurship? And also to add to that, what about global participation, like partnering with people outside of Israel to help encourage entrepreneurship?
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, this is certainly the future, is the global entrepreneurship, because what we see here with all the changes that we see in the world, I would say there are two mega trends. One is of a political nature, unfortunately, which is of disintegration. We see disintegration of countries. It started with the Soviet Union. Now we see it in the Middle East. Our countries are broken up to the tribal elements and the very, very, I would say, parochial interest. But on the other hand, when it comes to the economy and technology, there is this integration and globalization. So today we certainly encourage, and we have what we do here as a government, we try to give the support, financial support and infrastructure support in terms of legality. So there won't be any bureaucracy and there won't be any undeserved regulations that will bar cooperation across borders. So this is the two things that the governments do, and this what allows really different startup companies from Israel, from the United States, from Europe, just to collaborate and work together. Whether it's online or whether they come back and forth into the different labs in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or Haifa. And also what we do as a government, we create binational funds. For instance, with the United States, we have a big fund of a few, more than probably $100 million that is available for people with ideas and startups. And there is a committee of scientists, and when they see something which is viable, they can fund the startups so they can really have a good heads up.
There you go, Adrian. I know you're an entrepreneur
Absolutely.
at heart.
Can I come to Israel?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would love to have you, and you can contact our consulate or embassy nearby, and they will direct you to all the available resources.
There you go.
Save me a seat next to her.
Yes, we're all going, right? Hey, Kempton, what's your question?
So thank you very much, sir, for coming and hanging out with us. Allow me to switch gear a little. I understand you just attended the Jerusalem Post conference, and I've watched a video of sparks flying between Environment Minister Arden and Meir Dagan, the former chief of Mossad. So my question to you is about your view on the idea of an Israeli preemptive strike of Iran. Do you agree with Mir Dan that war is the kind of thing where we know how to start, how it starts, but not how it will end? And Israel should really exhaust all other means before considering war.
Yes, well, Meir Dagan is a very revered general. He was head of Mossad. He has a lot of credentials. But one thing is important to remember, that there was a French prime minister in the beginning of the 20th century, actually during World War I, Mr. Clemenceau, who said war is too serious to leave it out for the generals to make decisions. And I do agree that it's much easier to start a campaign, military campaign, than to end it. But in the case of Iran, we have to realize that it's a threat to the entire international community, because a nuclear Iran will mean the proliferation. Many other countries will seek nuclear military capabilities. And not only that, Iran, you know, the Ayatollahs are so radical, engaged in terrorism. They tried to assassinate the Saudi ambassador here in the United States. They tried to assassinate Israeli diplomats in Baku, Azerbaijan, and in Bangkok, and in New Delhi, India. And they're engaged in subversion throughout the Middle East and beyond, in Africa and Latin America and so on. So such a fanatic regime to possess nuclear capabilities would be devastation to all of us, let alone that they can control then oil prices and the oil flow. This is another reason why we need to kind of speed up on renewable energy and not just the traditional oil. But having said that, Iran is a threat not only to Israel. It's a threat to Saudi Arabia. It's a threat to Egypt. It's a threat to the United States, to Europe. And I was very impressed when President Obama said that Iran is a national security threat to the United States. So we believe it's up to the international community to deal with it. I think the sanctions are important, because Iran, as crazy and fanatic as these Ayatollahs are in Tehran, it's not that they're completely irrational. That is, with real pressure, the dilemma they will face is whether to continue their illegal and defiance of the entire international community and work on their nuclear, or, and by doing that, they may risk their economy, the social fabric, and their own political survival. So the dilemma is theirs now.
Can I ask you, do you think in our lifetime, can you envision peace throughout the Middle East and in the world? Can you see this happening with the technology that we have and the tools at our hands? Can you see this?
I can see this happen, Maria. You know why? Because there's no other choice, and it's a win-win. Today, the main problem in the Middle East is not the politics, and even not the terrorism, although it's a big problem. The problem is the lack of resources, no jobs, no food, and no water. And water can be the real source of conflicts and devastation. The only way to make sure that the people in the Middle East will have drinkable water is through increasing the supply, because the demand is growing and the supply is, the natural supply is diminishing. Yes. Just remember the Nile water that fed the Egyptian population 50 years ago. At that time it was 25 million Egyptians. The Nile water didn't decrease in volumes, but today the population almost quadrupled. So the same Nile that fed 25 million 50 years ago has to feed 85 million.
No.
And it's growing. The only way is desalination. And this we can do through technology. Now we are applying some nanotechnology on desalination, so it's really reducing the prices. So I believe that through peace, we can allow this cooperation. You know, Israel extends its hand in peace to all our neighbors, but this hand is not empty, because, you know, this hand will allow them to have water and food and technology which will build an industrial base. They have no jobs whatsoever. For too many years, they were living under dictatorships that actually plundered all the natural resources in their own pockets. And the situation is that you have total devastation. So I believe that common sense will prevail, necessity again will prevail, and realizing that peace is a win-win. It's not a zero-sum game.
Oh.
So at some point, I believe there will be leaders who will be responsible to their own population, to the well-being and security of their own population. So I'm optimistic.
Me too. Me too.
Good.
You spoke of, I want to get everyone's questions in as we're running out the hour. You spoke of the French Prime Minister. Let's go to Paris, shall we?
Hello.
Laurent, what's your question?
Good morning, sir, and thank you for being part of this Hangout. This is my question. I think, and French people do often think that they notice that Israel is far from attaining today the intellectual influence that the diaspora used to have. A famous thinker called George Steiner summarized this by saying, the best chess players in the world are Jews, but the Israeli chess team is not the number one in the world. What do you think about that?
Well, actually, we have one, Boris Gelfand, which I think is now vying for the championship. For the title, right. So we do have some, but it is true. It is true that after, the Jewish people is a very old people, 4,000 years old. Since Abraham, the patriarch, came to Zion, the land of Israel, and Judea. For 2,000 years, we created a great culture and the great faith. But then we had real devastation, the Romans that expelled us. So 2,000 years we were in exile in 130 different countries. But at the same time, there was always this connection on not only faith-based, but also on an intellectual base. And if you look at the number of Nobel Prizes, as I mentioned, in Israel, it is nothing short of impressive. Also, you have to remember that the Jews in Israel, when we re-established our country 64 years ago, and actually last week we celebrated our 64th independence, we had to start from scratch. So most of our resources were done just to build facilities, housing, industry, agriculture, and at the same time defend ourselves, because there were these Arabs and Muslims who did not want to see the Jewish state coming back alive. And they wanted to see just a only Islamist Middle East or Islamist world and whatever. So we had to, with one hand, did not have this burden of self-defense. But now I think we are leveling the playing fields. And today I think there is a great, again, with this globalization that, we are, the planet is coming technologically so close together.
Yes.
So I don't see really much difference today.
Okay, I hope that answered your question, Laurent.
Yes,
Michael,
it does.
Really quickly, your question, and then Diana's is last. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Really
I just want to ask you about, I remember ICQ many years ago was one of the first social media programs actually produced, and it was produced by 5 gentlemen from Israel. Right. And it actually prompted me to travel to Jordan and Israel and stuff at the time. So what's actually happening in the way of tech and development in Israel at the moment in those sorts of fields, like in the social media stuff, because there must be some startups coming around.
Absolutely. And Israel and Israel Technologies also reinvents itself. Almost every year or so. It's just amazing, the energy and, again, the curiosity and the enthusiasm. And I think this is the major element. Before you come into the technological hardcore stuff, you have to have the right spirit. And I think we do have it, and we do share it with everyone who is interested, whether it's in France. We have great relations, scientific relations with France, and of course with the United States.
Yes. Diano, you have the last question. Go ahead, buddy.
Awesome. I want to reiterate what everyone else has been saying, first of all, sir, and let you know what a pleasure it's been to be able to talk to you today. I like to end things off on somewhat of a more lighthearted note. One of my favorite television shows right now is Homeland on Showtime. And what most people don't know is that it's actually based on an Israeli television program called Prisoners of War, I believe. And I just wanted to know, is there any particular push to get more great Israeli shows? Because I seriously do love that show. It's an incredible show. Is there any push to get more Israeli television out there?
Absolutely, and also here it's very great creative energy. Just to sign up, and thank you, Maria, for that. In the last few years, we have had more than 10 nominations for Israeli films in different festivals, whether it's in the Oscar or Cannes or anywhere else, including different TV shows. So yes, we're going to continue with that.
Well, you're here in Los Angeles, so I'm sure you will be running into Steven Spielberg down the street, or Kim Kardashian, one of those two.
Oh,
You'll be running into.
Actually, yesterday I met Jerry Bruckheimer. He's a great friend
Oh,
of mine.
really?
Oh, excellent.
Wow.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me and Danny Ayalon, the Deputy Foreign Minister from Israel. It's been a great half hour. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, Maria. It was a
hanging
real
out.
pleasure. And all
the-
of this was really great.
Gotta go to In-N-Out.
Our pleasure. Can you take the screen capture? Because we do. This is a tradition.
Sure, sure.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes.
Like this?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that looks so lovely.
Yeah.
Got it.
Stock in the background.
Got it.
Got it.